Glad to be here.
I would just like to start off by getting a little bit of your origin story on yourself and also Bluechip Picks. Where did the idea come from? How did you get started with this business? Was there a specific gap in the market you saw? And really, what's your relationship with guitar in general?
Well, I have a machine shop and it's called Bluechip Machine, and I've done industrial machining since '91. And we kind of specialize in doing ceramics and other high tech ceramics as far as machining and things like that for the semiconductor industry. And that's just one of the things we do. And my shop is very small. Me and my son, Alan, run it, and it's a small, very small family business. And the material we make the picks out of, we have used it. We have made a lot of parts over the years out of it, and mainly for it's used in aerospace and the semiconductor industry, in in the machines that actually make the silicon wafers that the computer chips are uh, etched on. I mean, it's a complicated process, but anyhow, they had to have a material that would withstand a lot of heat, a lot of friction, didn't outgas under a vacuum, things like that, contamination and all. And it's got dry lubricants in it. So we've machined it for a long time. It's very, very expensive. A 10-inch by 10-inch square, 3/4 of an inch thick is around $9,000, and you can't melt it and mold it. You have to machine it. It will not melt. The durability is just unbelievable. It's just, I mean, as far as buffing or anything like that, if you've ever participated in that, like buffing Delrin or Caisson or any other material, the buffer will just eat it away. But this material, it just doesn't do anything to it. It's just phenomenal as far as the wearability and the durability. And I played just a little bit, and we were just discussing one day about what it would do if we made a pick out of this material. And I knew that tortoise picks were very sought after and illegal, and but that was kind of the holy grail. But I never dreamed in a million years, that this would even be uh, considered as a um, replacement for the tortoise pick. But anyhow, we made a pick out of it one day just by hand, and I gave it to a friend of mine, and then another one, and give it to a friend of mine just out of scrap that we had because the material was so expensive. You had to be careful, not to use
Right.
something. It's just so. I had a few friends that had them, and they talked about it constantly. Every time I see them, they just go on and on and on about how good the sound was and the durability and all that. So it took a couple of years to figure out how I could machine the picks and sell them and try to make a little bit of profit. And so it took a long time to develop the process. So me and my son worked on it a lot, experimenting with things to reduce the waste and all this kind of stuff. And that's kind of how it came about.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, I didn't realize that it was that expensive. So yeah, you said you were handing them out to your friends, but like, who was the first like heavy hitter that started using your picks, and when did you start to see that shift in your business when people started to know that your brand was kind of the brand to go to for those like high quality picks?
Well, I had a few friends using them, and they were talking about them, and I thought, I need to put this in the hand of somebody else. And um, I bought steel from a company in Nashville, and I was talking to the guy one day ordering some steel, and it was Jamie Johnson that plays with the Grascals, and I had no idea that he did that on the side. He was a steel salesman, and I said, I've developed a pick, and I'd like to put it in somebody's hands that could tell me if it's the real deal. So he said, well, I'm a left-handed strummer, but you just need to we need to get one in my hands of my mandolin player, Danny Roberts. He's a phenomenal player. And so they were near Knoxville, and they were playing at doing a festival near Knoxville. So I said, well, I'll come over and I'll make a couple of picks and give them to Danny, and he can tell me what he thinks. And I had got the patent and all that stuff on the pick because I had to do all that, before I could even put it out there. So I didn't know. It was really like one of those things of faith, is this going to be worth this patent? Because the patent cost a lot of money, and just getting all that stuff. So I gave one to Danny. He didn't. Nobody knew who Bluechip. That was nothing. Nobody even knew the name. So I give one to Danny, and I said, if you like it, just give me a call. Danny didn't know me, and and he was like, no, okay. So that following Wednesday, he called, and we talked forever. And I said, Danny, do you think this is worth pursuing? And he said, I'm just going to tell you, I hadn't been able to put it down. And he said, I've recorded with it. And he said, I honestly think you can take over the pick world. And I said, are you kidding? He said, it's phenomenal. He said, I just can't. I haven't been able to put it down. So he was a huge, very influential, with what he said. So, we just started making the picks, and we made a website. And a friend of mine just made a website, and you could just imagine how bad the grammar and all that was. But, I thought, who's going to be looking at it, So
Right.
we made the website, and a friend of mine, his name is Scott Houston. He's here in Knoxville, and he came and bought a couple of picks, and he said, do you care if I put a post on the Mandolin Cafe? And I said, no, I don't care. I didn't know what the Mandolin Cafe was. I didn't know what a post was. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. So he left that day, and the next morning I thought, I'm going to check I didn't have email until this, so I thought I'm going to check my email. So there's all these emails. Is this a joke? What's going on? What is this? And it was all from the Mandolin Cafe. People had went to the website. So a few people on the Mandolin Cafe bought a few picks, and they would say, well, we're going to report back, and we'll let you know. So we checked that every day. What's being said. So, we get a couple of orders in, we send them out, and I mean, it's just like what you see on TV and stuff. I mean, that's just like what we couldn't wait to hear what the report was on the Mandolin Cafe. So we would check it, like the next day, and then whoever ordered them, I can't remember, but they come back and they're like, hey, this is the real deal. These things are amazing. And then we started getting more orders, and we was like, 2 orders a day, 3 orders a day. And it just grew just word of mouth,
That's amazing. And so, like, I guess, what year did you start? What year did you start your Bluechip Picks in?
Yeah, in 2008.
2008 was the first year you started selling them, because I know you said you had a couple of years where you were kind of
That's right.
around
Yeah,
with the So 2008. Okay.
2008, and that's when the economy was really bad, and work had got really slow, and my guys in the shop, we had got down to 4 days a week, because it was just so bad, and it was kind of like the pick kind of propped up the floor to keep everything from falling in. We would sell 8 or 10 a week, and that made a huge difference in my business overall.
Of course.
And so it was a real blessing.
Okay, and so I guess at this point now you're saying you've grown to quite a substantial size. Do you see yourself moving out of the shop you're in right now to something a little more spacious to get you guys to execute your orders and stuff a little better, or are you guys able to handle where you are at this moment in time?
Well, the shop that we're in now, we've been there for about 3 years. So,
oh, okay, so it's a newer. Okay.
Yeah, the shop was in my garage at home. And then we've moved out of that, and we've got a fairly large building now.
Wow.
And so I've got 5 people full time just making blue chip picks.
That's amazing. So the American dream is still alive. There you go.
It is, and I kind of got a saying that the good Lord takes care of idiots. I'm a good example. So
There you go.
yeah.
So could you run us through like the step-by-step process, I guess, for creating a line of custom picks for a musician such as Kenny Smith or Chris Thiele?
Well, with Kenny, I had just started. We had just started selling the picks, and he was in Oak Ridge, which is a town near where I'm at, and I went over and to where he was performing and talked to him. Of course, he'd never heard of Blue Chip or anything, and so I gave him a couple of picks, and it's what we call the TD model, which is just a standard teardrop. And he ground it down and sanded it himself and made that little triangle that I call the Kenny Smith. And he said he used tortoise, and when he would get, by the time he would get a new tortoise pick, it would wear down, and that's what he would end up with, is that little button looking thing. And so that's what he was comfortable with playing with. So we just started making those for him. And he just asked me one day, he said, would you put my name on it? I said, well, heck yeah. I mean, he's a pretty, he does pretty good, and,
Oh, 100%.
yeah,
Amazing player.
yeah, he's a great guy. We've become good friends, but, so that's how the Kenny Smith come along. And then, Chris Thiele, he was playing in Knoxville, and I went over. I had a friend, Len Dudenbostel. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's a mandolin player. He made one of Chris's mandolins, and Len knew Chris well, and he introduced me, and Chris. We have one called the TAD, the TAD, and that's another thing with the names of the picks. How funny that just all of them come about, but anyhow, Chris liked that style, that shape, but he didn't like a 50 and he didn't like a 60. And so we made him a 55 in between, and he liked it worn. He called it worn in, where the bevel's kind of worn back.
Okay.
And so we made that for him, and that's where the CT come from. It's
Nice.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, and yeah, you were mentioning the names are kind of funny. Like I have I ordered the TP48, and I'm assuming that might be one of the more popular models at this time because I know Billy Strings had a rig rundown a few months ago, and he called you guys out saying he uses the TP48. And for myself, just getting into bluegrass, I'm a finger stylist mostly, so moving over to the bluegrass world, I was kind of like, okay, I want to get set up like he is. And so I got myself the TP48. But yeah, so if you want to just maybe go into the names of the picks a little bit, like you were saying, it's a bit of a funny story. Or...
Well, I mean, it's just, we're pretty simple-minded guys. So the TD was just a teardrop.
Oh,
That's what the TD means. And the TP just means tri-point.
Oh, okay.
So the first ones we made were the TD and the TP, and then we needed something with rounded corners, and that's where the TPR. That it's a TP with rounded corners.
Okay.
That's what
Okay.
TP.
There you go. All right.
And the picks are marked in thousandths of an inch, which at the time I had no idea that picks were marked in millimeters.
Oh.
I had no idea. I didn't research anything, or we just started making picks. It wasn't like we done a bunch of research on other picks or whatever. So if I would have known, I would have probably started out with millimeters because that would be easier. But we work in thousandths of an inch. So, a TD 50 is 50 thousandths of an inch.
Right.
Or 40 thousandths of an inch. Yeah. So,
right.
But, and then a guy contacted me and he said, I'm a big guy with a big hand. Can you make the TP larger. And we drew it up on the computer, and there's a lot of processing to making a new style. You have to make fixtures and all this stuff to hold it, and we cut them with a CNC milling machine. We use Haas CNC mills, and so there's quite a bit to making a new style. So we did that, and at the time I needed something else, and I liked it, and so I sent it to the guy, and he's like, "Man, this is the greatest. I love it. It's perfect." And his name was Tad Gosler. So that's where the TAD come from, Tad.
Oh, nice. All right.
And the SR, I like airplanes, SR-71 Blackbird.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
So that's all that stuff is, yeah, that's kind
Do
of
you have
where.
one? Do you have one named after your Camaro yet, or?
No, but my son had we are, both of us are serious gearheads. And when
I
he was a
noticed that
kid,
from your video. I was going through your Instagram doing a little research before. I noticed, yeah, you got some pretty serious work into that Camaro.
oh yeah, yeah. I like the old cars and the muscle cars, and like I said, we both are motorcycle cars, all that stuff. But he had a XR80 when he was a kid, and that's where the
Right.
XR comes from. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, just little things like that. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, and so I guess with the business, I only got two more questions for you. I don't want to hold you too long there. But yeah, so in terms of like future plans for Bluechip Picks, what do you like? Where do you see yourself like going with this? Like, just keep doing what you're doing. Like, clearly what you're doing is working. So yeah, I'm just kind of wondering, do you guys have any future plans going forward?
No, I mean, right now we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. I mean, it's still growing, and it's all just word of mouth, and just yeah, just keep doing what we're doing. We try to never have a backlog. We try to never have uh, back order anything. We work really hard to get everything out. I mean, we're struggling a little bit right now because of Christmas, and I mean, when
Right.
I say we're struggling, we had orders that came in over the weekend. We got most of them out today. The rest of them will probably go out tomorrow. But normally, we everything goes out the next day. We don't. We really try to try to get everything out, and we're just going to keep doing what we're doing.
That's awesome. If you have to reflect on the last 15 years with your blue chip brand, Bluechip Picks, what is the thing you are most proud of?
Well, it's been an amazing adventure. I've got to meet so many people that I've just admired and listened to for years, and you know, uh, to be able to call Doyle Lawson and Ricky Skaggs and a lot of these guys my friend, and they call me, and but just I always do IBMA. I do about 5 festivals a year. I do one in Nashville, and then in Kansas I do Winfield, and then I do Gray Fox in New York, and of course IBMA, and I do Galax, Virginia. But you have a couple walk up, and it's middle-aged couple, and the wife says, I asked him what he wanted for Christmas last year, and he said he just wanted a blue chip pick. That's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, I
To
can.
make
Yeah,
something that, a grown man or a woman wants for Christmas that's pretty humbling to me. And there's a lot of it that's very humbling to me. I never thought it would do what it's done. And, it's like I said, it's been a crazy adventure, and, to meet Steve Martin and, talk to
wow.
him and, and see him on TV with that thumb pick on. And I mean, it just goes on and on. Um, at some point, it sounds like I'm bragging and name dropping. I'm not. It's very humbling to me. And it's been it's been the coolest adventure ever.
That's yeah, that's amazing. And obviously, you put the work in, and now you're seeing the results. And like you said, and I guess my last thing to ask you, what piece of advice would you give someone starting out or currently on their entrepreneurial journey? Like for myself, I'm trying to create. That's kind of similar space where I'm very passionate about guitar, and I'm really trying to figure out my way into this world with it, with my own unique touch. So yeah, just kind of any advice you'd have.
Well, I mean, it just takes a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication and believing in what you're doing. I guess that's the biggest thing. You just got to believe in what you're doing and what you're doing is right. And, I had people, especially about the thumb pick, I had a lot of very negative comments and, I had some guys, very prominent players telling me, that I was embarrassing myself and, I needed to not fool with that, but you have to believe in what you're doing and just keep plugging along. But I mean, you got to treat the customer right too. I mean, every customer that you have that you treat right and you treat them like they need to be treated, you have someone out there running with your flag, and I kind of relate that to the guy at the football game or whoever's running up and down the field with the team flag. You know, you want people running with your flag. So the customer is always right, and you just got to do what you can to. You can't make everybody happy, but that's the main thing. If you don't have customers, what do you got?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, but yeah, like I said, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I think for my channel, this is like the biggest thing I've got to do so far. So I was very excited when you agreed to do this. That's very awesome that you took the time out of your day to talk to me.
Well, I've enjoyed it a lot. I'm a bashful guy, and so I don't do too many interviews or anything like that. But I'm definitely the guy in the back of the room. But I appreciate you reaching out to me, and it's been an honor. And um, it's a little difficult to sell myself or my product. It's hard. It's harder for me to do. I mean, I can eat a fish sandwich at McDonald's and tell 40 people about it, but it's hard for me to tell. I don't carry a business card or nothing. I just hate being that guy. It's a little difficult for me to do, but you've made it easy and I appreciate it.
Oh no, I like that's I get that, but that means you're humble, but you're doing big things. So thank you so much, and I hope I can make. I'm trying to put a lot of effort into this video to give the audience as much information about your picks as possible, and hopefully with your interview here, I'll definitely be the icing on the cake for it. So I'll make sure to tag you and everything, so it'll pop up for you. And but yeah, so I guess I'll leave you to the rest of your evening there. Um, and yeah, so thank you so much for being here, and hope you have a great night.
All right, man. You too. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
All right, you too.